Okay, trying the regular camera mode here. This north garden, it's got a lot of stuff growing that should have come up earlier, but I got Friday winter greens coming up that I seeded pretty much, well, everywhere, but extra thick in the beds, but spread in different areas. A lot of weeds coming up too, mulch and chickens work. This is technically the path area here. The chickens have been working it over pretty hard. Plus there was some squash in this low bed. I consider this a low bed. It's lower because not raised because the ditches aren't all the dirt from the ditches was thrown up to make these other raised beds, and they're wider paths in areas like they need to be or what have you. So it's wetter here, and this area gets sun earlier. But it's more moist when it's moist, but of course it's going to be wetter in the summer when everything else over there is dry. So different dynamics. This tree is an issue in this garden because it shades this area here, and then, well, even in the summer and fall, as the sun goes back to the south, it creates different shade over that area. The trees over to the east in the morning cause some shade as well. So that trellis, there was tomato trellis last year, and it's hard to change that. Thinking about using like trees from like one bed to the other to make like a hoop. If I could train trees into some kind of structure, bow them, which you can totally do. Trees can be trained. You can tie them together slowly, bend them, make some kind of structure with the trees, like a curved trellis or something. That could be interesting, but I'm leery to create more shade when I might need more full sun for annuals. But it can be pruned, chopped and dropped. That can result in a lot of good material and foliage for keeping the ground mulched for the fall. This hickory tree drops a lot of not too much foliage in the garden, but some. There's a lot of hickory nut stuff over there, that shells that come down, so it's putting out a lot of that stuff that's somewhat toxic to annuals. It kills back grass. It's allopathic. Prevents a certain amount of growth. Anyway, this is kind of got the pots been sitting out here with the plants. Oh, look, there's a variety of ladybugs that have come. The aphids are pretty thick on some of these peppers, so they're going to work on those. Oh, there's the ladybugs are having a good time out here. Okay, that's good, because I just saw a lot of aphids on this other pepper I set back there. Some of these are ready to go on the ground, but the wind is the main thing they need hardening off from. Of course, all these holes that I've put everywhere are leaks all the way. Lots of leaks around the edges. Hopefully, if I put any plants in the middle that aren't companions to leaks, they should be fine. You just put plants in between, that buffer between plants that aren't good companions. There's plenty of space. Fava beans, and they could have been a lot earlier. Actually, it was warmer before these last frosts. They're coming up, but they did suffer some black there. It looks like they frosted on the leaf edges a little bit. And I got some peas. They can be planted, could have been planted a little earlier too, I think. Or it's been hard to get them to sprout though early. Got to get that season, that early warm spell just right. The seeds. Hope that there's rain, and the ground is usually so cold sometimes that it's hard to get that early winter stuff to sprout here. But thinking of this as the general pattern, Although I'm going to use a lot of those New Zealand spinach for ground cover underneath some plants. They're smaller right now. I've got these blue Hubbard squash out here. I'm not sure. And I think that one over there might be a butternut, so I might move it. Gotta work with some of this cardboard mulch better yet, but figure that out later. Right now, the greens come up as this is one of the few good places I have for the squash, so might be a little bit dense tree squash or one elsewhere, because these things grow for a really long time. They take like 160 days or whatever. Get to maturity to produce some big winter squash, but I don't know, I might move one to another area, because I know they take up a lot of space, but the space doesn't matter if they're just covering ground and there's big tomatoes and other vines growing up. I really do need more trellis, but we have other areas with trellis, so I'm glad to have lots of peppers, and I have more varieties of peppers coming. I hope these do better, because I haven't had good production on peppers until fall, it seems. Plus I get some other herbs and things mixed in, and I'm working on getting more of the herb seed I have planted out, but well, it's not time to sow out a bunch of those warm weather herbs yet. It's just a lot of seeds I'm not putting out yet. Another week, 2, and then maybe into the next month for some of the real summer stuff. But gotta get the timing right and everything. That's always a chore, because seeds are going to spoil, which aren't. Seed though some varieties to try. Thinking of waiting for some of my smaller tomatoes, which I put in here. Plant them out. Wait another week, even though they're kind of spindly and tall in the greenhouse, just because it'll be warmer, produce better in there. Get a little, and they're not going to get any taller. They can be buried deep. I like the height. We're burying them deep as long as they don't break. So I think it's chicken's out of here. And chicken was in here, and Aussie chased it, and it just flew right over the fence. So it's not like they can't get in and out. It's an issue, but they haven't heard anything. The wind is almost worse than some days for the chickens, so they usually attack things at a certain date if they can get in. New plants, kind of leave them. Oh, I see some bug eggs. Oh, those are aphids. Oh, and there's a ladybug on that poor leaf. Poor leaf. Wow, that's rough. I did just see a ladybug. Yeah, working on the problem. Alright. Yeah, they're getting battered by the wind. That's the main thing they need hardening off from. You water them and then plant them. Looks like there's some other herbs in there with them that I gotta be careful with to put in just like they are, if I can help it. But some of those herbs might just need to be reseeded later. Doesn't look like much now. This gets really green in late spring. There's a few things left over from last year. I see like these onions. That's just going to go to seed. Some seed that can be good. I see a lot more fava beans coming up, planted in places. So, no, looks like everything is hardening off this wind really good. So I am going to be going going through a lot more seed and figuring out what I can plant this time out after last frost. Okay, so that's where I'm starting. And I'll have to do an after video here just to show in a while what I actually decide to do. So, should be looking a lot better as soon as I get these actually in the ground. I'm a little leery just because of possibilities about the weather, but I don't think there's any actual frost. It's just comfortableness and letting stuff break in, plus trying to think about the dynamics of what it's going to look like in a month or two or more. Just timing everything. Some of these long-term plants need to be out of the way of everything else. So I'm going to grow more varieties faster, stuff that comes and goes through the months. So I might be moving some of the longer term plants to the other garden where they have lots of room to just expand like they like to do. I'm gonna go look at that actually.